Hello Bama friends. Oregon looking to recruit a guy already committed to Bama? I don't want to believe this. Is it unexpected? Let's analyze it. Subscribe to the channel first to receive more news. The movement surrounding the recruitment of Dijon Lee, a 5-star and promising player from the Alabama Crimson Tide secondary, has been generating buzz, especially with Dan Lanning, Oregon Ducks coach, trying to turn Lee's commitment. It's no surprise that Lanning, with his experience and vision, is targeting elite players, even when they're already committed to established programs. But here's the thing, Lee chose Alabama, and with good reason. The cornerback from Mission Viejo, California, has been putting on a formidable performance, which places him as one of the best in the country at his position. He not only commands respect physically, but also technically. His stats speak for themselves: 13 pass defenses in his junior season and 87 combined tackles over the past 2 seasons. And that's not counting his 4 interceptions. Lee is the kind of player Alabama wants to keep its secondary sharp, and it's hard to imagine him trading this opportunity for anything else. His trust in Nick Saban, and now Kalen DeBoer, has been the difference that keeps commitments like Lee's firm. Even with the attention from programs like Oregon, Georgia and Texas A&M, the Crimson Tide's tradition and reputation weigh much more heavily. Recruiting is a constant battle, and Lanning, with his tireless attitude, may even try to steal Lee, but the cornerback's commitment to Alabama seems unwavering. After all, who wouldn't want to develop their talent at one of the most prestigious programs in the country, with a history of producing players who not only shine at the college level, but also in the NFL? Lee recognizes the value of keeping the door open. As he himself has said, coaches change every week, suggesting he is aware of the volatility in the college football world. But that flexibility should not be mistaken for indecisiveness. Alabama's recruiting structure, especially with Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff, is set up to ensure that talent like Lee not only makes it to the program, but thrives there. Tuscaloosa's next man-up mentality molds athletes to handle any adversity, and that culture is what attracts top-tier talent like Lee, who wants to compete and excel on the biggest stage possible. The Ducks can be aggressive in recruiting, and they already have commitments from 4-star cornerbacks in Dorian Brew and Brandon Finney. But the desire to add a piece like Lee to their defense is undiminished. Lanning clearly understands that to compete at a national level, he needs game-changing players, but the Crimson Tide has something Oregon, so far, lacks: consistency in competing for national titles year after year. Dan Lanning may offer good conversation, build relationships, and promise a great future, but the reality is that Lee already has the perfect environment at Alabama. The team is ready to welcome him and put him on the path to success, something Lanning is still trying to build with the Ducks in the Pac-12. For Dijon Lee, Alabama represents more than just a recruiting commitment. It's a chance to develop in the best possible setting and follow in the footsteps of the greats who have come through Tuscaloosa. This recruiting battle reflects how competitive the college football landscape has become. But at the end of the day, when a player like Dijon Lee looks to the future and sees where he wants to be, both in terms of personal development and his professional ambitions, Alabama remains the safest and smartest choice. Lanning may continue to play his cards right, but Lee's commitment to the Crimson Tide seems as solid as the program he chose. Let's move on. And what about this Bama recruiting? Tradition always attracts great guys to the team. The news that 4-star wide receiver Malik Knight has backed out of his commitment to Miami after visiting Alabama during the Georgia game is further evidence that the Crimson Tide remain an unbeatable force in recruiting. With his relationship with Miami now over, the path seems increasingly clear for Alabama to be Tony's next destination, which would further bolster Nick Saban's already talented roster. Tony, now reclassified from the class of 2026 to the class of 2025, is seen as a true talent. Coming out of American Heritage High School in Florida, he has already shown that he can be a top target on the field in the coming years. His recent visit to Alabama was not just a leisurely stroll. The atmosphere in Tuscaloosa seemed to have a significant impact on his decision. After all, Not everyone can resist the vibrant atmosphere of an Alabama-Georgia matchup at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Seeing the tradition, structure and commitment of the Alabama program up close must have left a lasting impression on Tony. Tony is the kind of wide receiver who can cause problems for any opposing defense. He brings a lethal combination of quickness and explosive speed. And when you watch the Crimson Tide's passing attack continue to evolve under Kaden Jones, it's easy to see why Tony would see Alabama as an opportunity to develop and shine even more. Alabama knows how to maximize the potential of its players, especially those who bring the special skills that Tony does, and that could be a differentiator for him in his final decision. Tony's decommitment to Miami opens a valuable door for Alabama, which has already demonstrated its ability to attract the best talent in the country. Tony's visit during one of the biggest games of the season, coupled with the experience of seeing the team on the field, may have been the tipping point. Alabama's winning tradition, player development structure and the opportunity to compete at a high level make the Crimson Tide an extremely attractive option for any recruit. Should Tony decide to wear an Alabama jersey, it would be another significant recruiting win. The prospect of seeing Tony as a central piece of Alabama's offense in the future is exciting for any fan. He brings exactly the kind of skills the Crimson Tide values in their wide receivers: quickness, route accuracy, and the ability to change the course of a game with a single catch. If Tony makes his choice to Alabama, he will have the chance to develop at one of the most respected programs in the country. It will be interesting to see how Bama attracts top recruits. What do you think? The winds seem to be blowing in Alabama's direction in the recruiting landscape, and a recent suggestion from Associate Director of Player Personnel Aaron Hodges only reinforces that. In a cryptic post on X, Hodges hinted that the Crimson Tide may be on the verge of changing the fortunes of a top recruit. Alabama's convincing win over a strong Georgia team over the weekend created the perfect environment to impress the top recruits who were visiting. Among them were big names who have already committed to other programs, such as Derek Smith, Andrew Olesh, Ivan Taylor, and Mason Dunn. These players, all committed in different directions, may be reconsidering their decisions after an immersive experience in the Alabama environment. And with Hodges hinting at the possibility of a major move, this could be just the beginning of a turnaround in the recruiting landscape. The Crimson Tide, under the leadership of Kaden Jones, have continued their tradition of attracting the best talent in the country, and this recent win over the Georgia Bulldogs only reinforced the program's reputation as an elite destination. For recruits, visiting Alabama for one of the most anticipated games of the season was not just about the performance on the field, but also an opportunity to see firsthand the structure and commitment of the program. Derek Smith, Andrew Olesh, Ivan Taylor and Mason Dunn, all of whom have committed to other programs, may have felt the impact of Tuscaloosa's unique atmosphere, where excellence is the norm and the chance to compete at a high level is guaranteed. Alabama's ability to develop players and take them to the next level, especially with renowned coaches and a well-structured organization, makes the Crimson Tide an irresistible destination for many. Hodges' post on X doesn't go into much detail, but it hints at a big change in the works. What is clear, however, is that Alabama is always in a position to seize opportunities in the recruiting game, especially when players who have already committed start to reconsider their choices. The win over Georgia showed that Alabama is still a dominant force, both on and off the field, and that could be enough to convince any recruit to reconsider their previous commitments. In the coming weeks, it will be fascinating to see who decides to join Alabama's elite group. The Crimson Tide already has a formidable roster of young talent, but adding names like Smith, Olesh, Taylor or Dunn could elevate the team even further. Aaron Hodges, with his recruiting experience and flair, knows exactly how to move the pieces on the board, and his recent suggestion could be just the beginning of a series of strategic wins for Alabama in the recruiting world. Keep moving forward. Kaden Jones' recent visit to Alabama once again highlighted the power of the Crimson Tide's offense to attract, especially to emerging talents like himself. Jones, a four-star running back from Jenks High School in Oklahoma, is highly sought after, with offers from top programs like Alabama, Miami, and Ole, Mississippi. The young athlete traveled to Tuscaloosa to watch the game against Georgia and, by the looks of it, the experience exceeded all his expectations. When commenting on the atmosphere at Bryant-Denny Stadium during the win over the Bulldogs, Jones was full of praise. "It was the craziest game I've ever been to, absolutely electric," he said. It's easy to understand the impact such an intense environment can have on a high-profile recruit. Seeing firsthand the passion of the fans, the organization of the program and, most importantly, the dynamic performance of Alabama's offense must have been a transformative experience for Jones. When it comes to recruiting talent, Alabama has always known how to make a lasting impression, and this visit was no exception. What stood out to Jones the most, however, was the versatility and explosiveness of Alabama's offense. He noted how the running backs were utilized not only in the ground game, but also as threats in the passing game, catching passes out of the backfield. That kind of flexibility is something many elite athletes seek out of a program, and Alabama continues to excel in providing opportunities for players to shine in multiple facets of the game. "Very explosive, dynamic," Jones said, highlighting exactly the type of offense the Crimson Tide employs under Kalen DeBoer. Jones has previously expressed his admiration for Alabama's player development program. "The success is not hard to see. I love the way they develop players," he said, showing that his appreciation for the Crimson Tide goes beyond what happens on the field. Alabama's program is known for its ability to prepare players for the next level, and the team's continued success story in recruiting running backs is undeniable. For someone like Jones, who has aspirations of greatness, joining a program with such a strong tradition could be the decision that defines his career. Kaden Jones is the type of player who would fit perfectly into Alabama's scheme. His impressive numbers from the 2023 season speak for themselves: 2,205 all-purpose yards and 19 total touchdowns. He's a constant threat with the ball in his hands, demonstrating patience and explosiveness as a running back, while also being a key piece in the passing game and kick returner. Jones' versatility is exactly what makes him such a coveted target, and the Crimson Tide's very dynamic offense certainly seems like the ideal environment for him to flourish. For Alabama, attracting players of Jones' caliber is more than just adding talent to the roster. It's about maintaining its tradition of excellence and ensuring the program continues to evolve. If Jones decides to commit to the Crimson Tide, he knows he will be able to play with a great roster, and with the help of DeBoer and the coaching staff, he can have a good overall development. Are you excited about the draft? I want to hear your thoughts now. Comment below.